Alright. Sorry for the delay in audio, guys. For some reason, my mic wasn't connected, but you can hear me now. We're going to be doing a Naruto reaction today, so things are pretty hyped. I'm actually pretty excited. It's been a bit since we've done this, and we're going to be checking out Anime Uproar. So this guy is definitely doing his fucking thing. This man has about 2 million subs, so he's definitely made it. So shout out to him and congratulations as well. But as you can see, he does all kinds of anime content, you name it, the whole nine. And clearly he's doing a lot of Hero Academia, JJK, whatever, One Piece, you name it. But he's also done aka Naruto, which is kind of cool, right? You know what I mean? It's like, hey, because let's be real, Naruto is one of the most goated freaking animes and mangas out there to this day. It's so popular, it's been freaking 20 years and beyond, and it's still in discussion, you know? So, and as you can see right here, he has like a bunch of Naruto videos, whatever. So again, make sure to check him out. I'll either have his name in the title of the video or the link in the description down below. You guys know the vibes. Give him all the love and support. But shout out to Anime Uproar as well. But we're going to be getting into the video, and I hope you guys are excited. Let's do it. And the title of it is How Strong is Kid Itachi? Naruto and Naruto should put in Young Itachi Explained. So we're going to be seeing what this is about. You know what I mean? Apparently he's scaling, you know, how strong Kid Itachi is and Young Itachi. So very curious to see what versions he wants to discuss and go over, and let's get it.
Going to be talking about the legend himself, Itachi Uchiha. Itachi has always been one of the most interesting characters to me, and since a lot of you requested a detailed video about Itachi, here we are. This one is focusing on his powers and abilities from birth up to the point where he left Konoha after killing his clan. But I'd also like to make one about his power afterwards, a video about adult Itachi, if you will. So if that's something you'd like to see, make sure to smash that like button. Let's see if we can hit 5,000 likes on this one. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe, and this is crucial, hit that notification bell or you will miss future Naruto videos.
I forgot to mention it too though, guys. We're still going to be doing the trash or pass, so there's that as well. Since obviously this is Naruto related, so if he passes, fantastic. That means the video is peak goated or at least good enough for my approval. If it's trash, that means it was some atrocious nonsense, okay? And we got problems, okay? But let's get it.
Suggestions in the comments for what video topics you would like me to cover next. As usual, spoilers are fair game. Now without further ado, let's jump into it. Itachi has been called Itachi of the Sharingan and Clan Killer Itachi. He is the older brother of Sasuke and the son of Fugaku Uchiha, who was the head of the Uchiha clan and the leader of the Konoha military police force. We know in Naruto that OP parents tend to have OP children, and Fugaku was notably considered—
Yes, and yes, I'm being a fat ass and eating food right now while watching because I was fucking hungry by the time I was going to be recording, so don't judge me, okay?
Considered to be a rare genius. Fugaku earned the nickname Wicked Eye Fugaku, and his reputation struck fear into the hearts of enemy ninja. He was compared to Minato Namikaze and the Legendary Three, and some strongly felt like he should have been the fourth Hokage.
Okay, so he's clearly done his homework and research. Everything he's saying so far is actually true. Fugaku was no fucking joke, and he was a character that was pretty strong. He was definitely acknowledged, and he did have a legacy that he left behind, and was, you know, feared as a ninja. Let's just put it that way. And it kind of sucks because, you know, we only got certain like feats, you know, when from the anime. There wasn't really a lot from the manga, but it was mainly from the anime as well. But the manga was still good as well, because even Itachi with the MS still thought his father as an opponent would be like really, really bad. But either way, Fugaku's no fucking joke, you know what I mean? And it kind of sucks because I kind of wish we had like a one-shot manga with him, you know what I mean? But, you know, overall, it is what it is, so. But we're going to get back into it. Let's get it.
This is all extremely impressive, and what's even more impressive is that Itachi was clearly even more talented than his fearsome father, even as a child. In the Itachi novels, Fugaku's ninja pride is often threatened by his firstborn son's exceptional talents. Itachi grew up quick. At only 4, his father showed him the horrors of war up close. Itachi was sickened by what he saw, and he promised himself that he would change the world. Thus, at only 4 years old, he embarked on the path to become the strongest so that he could bring peace to the world. Although Fugaku shouldn't get any Father of the Year awards, he did give Itachi a sense of urgency which accelerated his growth as a ninja. Shisui Uchiha, who was considered to be the strongest Uchiha of his time, complimented Itachi on his mastery of Shuriken Jutsu, aka the art of throwing Shuriken, kunai, and other projectiles, when Itachi was only 5 years old. Also, when he was 5, during the Nine Tails attack, there was an incident with an enormous rock that was large enough to easily crush a mother and her 2 children. The rock was coming. Itachi threw baby Sasuke to his mother, leaped up, channeled chakra into his arm so it was covered in faint blue flames, and punched the rock. The rock exploded, and in this way, a 5-year-old Itachi saved his mother and brother. His mother, Mikoto Uchiha, was a Jonin. She must have seen a lot over the course of her life, yet she still couldn't help but be surprised at the young Itachi's skills and instincts. Thus,
so everything that he's saying so far is actually very true. So yes, she was a Jonin, and yes, Kid Itachi as a child saved her, did everything, whatever you name it, which is very, very impressive because he's blatantly already being on Jonin level as a child, and that's a big fucking deal. Now, to be fair, we don't really know exactly where she was Jonin level-wise because we obviously know there's different tiers to Jonin too. But either way, it's still very, very impressive because at least gets him bare minimum way beyond the Chunin and Genin. So this guy is already ahead of most characters in Naruto. Even in Part 1 Naruto, all the Genin and Chunin that we knew were not Jonin. None of them were. You know what I mean? So that's a big freaking deal.
Itachi had already shown himself to be an awe-inspiring prodigy. At 6 years old, Itachi started the Ninja Academy. In general, by the beginning of Naruto, it seems that most students enter the academy at around 8 years old, and then spend 4 years there and graduate at 12 years old. The rookie 9 are 12 when they graduate. Even Naruto, who supposedly failed the exam twice before he took it a 3rd time, is 12.
Which one of these would you rather have your man smell like?
This one better. It smells cleaner than this one, like fresh out of the shower.
Perhaps Naruto also started early like Itachi, while the others started at 8, which could explain the confusion. Anyways, Itachi excelled at the academy. There was a test where the students had to hit 20 human figures set up all over the schoolyard with kunai as fast as possible. The rest of the class's average was around 5 minutes, and Itachi did it in 30 seconds, hitting every target with almost flawless accuracy in the head or the chest. He scored a perfect 100 on the test, but Itachi actually beat himself up about it. He compared himself to the older Shisui, who could have done it faster, and finally decided that he could have shaved another 5 seconds off. This is Itachi for you. At 6 years old, he was not comparing himself to the
Yeah, see, that's the thing about Itachi. He's always been humble. That I'm really glad he put that out there because a lot of people don't really know that. Itachi's a very, very humble, intellectual ninja. You know, he's not cocky, he's not arrogant, he's not prideful or egotistical or anything like that. He's very, very humble because he's very, very aware of his own limitations, what he can do, what other people can do, so on and so forth. And if anything, like he just said in the video, he always thinks he can even do more or do better, you know? And that's a very, very good quality to have as a person because you're going to get a lot of self-growth and continue to grow as a person in ninja, etc.
Students around him, but to the best Uchiha of the time. Even a perfect score could be a failure in Itachi's eyes. That's how hard he was on himself even at 6 years old. Itachi was so skilled that Shisui trained with him. They'd run about 4 hours, maintaining their top speed the entire time. In contrast, we're told anyone not diligent with their ninja training wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes, let alone 4 hours. Shisui was known as Shisui of the Body Flicker because of his insane speed, so the fact that Itachi could train and keep up with him as a kid is beyond impressive. 6 months after starting the academy, some teachers and students said that Itachi's level of talent had never before been seen at the school. The academy has been around since the second Hokage founded it, so skilled ninja like Kakashi, the Legendary 3, Minato, and more have all gone through it. And some still thought that Itachi had the most talent. We're even talking about people who would eventually become great Hokage.
Now that's a little bit questionable. That's a really good statement for Itachi, but the only where it gets a little blurry in that territory of things, so there's some contentiousness, is Minato has a lot of statements, and I mean consistently as well, of him just being like a prodigy or the genius or the best of the best and beyond and so on and so forth and yada, 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 you know? And mind you, this is coming from the Sanins and from Hiruzen and from everybody. There's a lot of consistency for Minato. While for Itachi, he's praised to be a prodigy several times as well, but it's not really on the emphasis of Minato. But, you know, he has his own versions of it too. And what's even more good for Itachi as well is it's blatantly referring to the academy as well. while Minato is just like as an in general statement, or kind of put out to be perceived as all around. Was what they're referring to, you know. So again, you could maybe potentially have still Minato either above or at least within the ballpark similarly, you know, and to, you know, whatever, so on and so forth. But I wouldn't necessarily say that would put Itachi above those people. So
let that sink in. Just after 4 months at the academy, his teachers agreed to let him graduate after his first year. I will say though that the Hidden Leaf Village was exhausted from the Great War and the attack of the Nine Tails, so they urgently needed ninja. Thus, select students were allowed to graduate without waiting for their full term to be up. Prodigies like Sasuke and Neji would have likely graduated early too, if they went through the system during this period. Itachi passes the graduation exam with no problem. In contrast to Naruto, who failed the graduation exam 3 times, Itachi had already mastered clone techniques before he even entered the academy. So at only 7 years old, aka 5 years before the average student, he passed effortlessly. Another notable example that perfectly illustrates how Itachi was always a cut above the rest can be found in the uniqueness of his substitution technique. Most of the time, ninjas switched out their own body for a log before an attack, but Itachi used countless crows instead of a log. I always used to think that this was just Itachi's own unique style, but it actually always served a specific purpose, as is explained in the novel, and I quote, "If you used the usual log, the confusion effect on your opponent was meager, but the instant you switched out for crows, they flew off in all directions, so your opponent was surprised and bewildered, generating an opening that wasn't even on the same level as with the log," end quote. So even little things like his substitution technique were planned out meticulously by Kid Itachi for maximum effectiveness. Danzo showed a huge interest in Itachi because of his talent, and according to him, and I quote, "All involved assert that the academy has never before witnessed such a genius as Itachi."
Have you ever run a background check on yourself?
these goddamn ads.
Crazy. What else is on here?
End quote. That's the second time we've seen such a statement, and in this case, Danzo says all involved rather than some teachers, further lending credence to the claim that Itachi showed the most talent of all. At his graduation, a 7-year-old Itachi Uchiha was valedictorian. Although some people thought he was way too young and others didn't want an Uchiha to be valedictorian, in the end they all bowed before his overwhelming abilities and grades and the way he excelled in all things. He had gotten nothing but perfect scores while in the academy and completed the graduation exam flawlessly only 4 months after entering. He was the youngest post-war graduate and valedictorian, and that post-war part is important because other exceptional graduates like Kakashi graduated during the Great War, when there was an even more urgent need of ninja. Thus for Itachi, it would not have been possible for him to graduate at 5 years old from the academy like Kakashi did. And after his graduation, Danzo called him the most talented genius ever to grace the halls of the academy. So not only can we not place anyone above him, there is accumulating evidence.
So I'm gonna say this really quick. I feel like there's still contentiousness in a sense, because like Kakashi as an example, he literally broke like all the freaking records when it came to as a ninja. You know, basically when it came to like graduating the academy, accomplishing, like he was at the youngest age of doing certain accomplishments when it came to that. So like again, like there's a lot of variables really into play. Would that necessarily mean like, oh, Kakashi's the most talented? No, because he wasn't. He clearly wasn't. Minato was clearly way above. Itachi was way above when it came to being as a prodigy and a genius, you know. So I'm gonna put that out there, but you know, overall, I'm not saying Itachi's stuff for the academy isn't peak and great, but main point being said is the fact that Kakashi did all those things, whatever, it kind of puts the academy as for any feats to happen in that into question, because it's not really the same emphasis when it comes to everybody, you know? So
indicate that Kid Itachi had the most talent out of everyone before him at the academy. At only 7 years old, Itachi's practical abilities were already said to be on par with the average Chunin. He fully awakened the Sharingan at 8 years old and learned how to use it. Then at 10 years old, he officially got promoted to Chunin. He took the exam by himself and crushed it, even with an unfair disadvantage. For instance, for the second part of the Chunin exams, Itachi completed it so fast that he set a new record, despite the fact that the exam was based on 3-person cells and he was working alone. In contrast, 10-year-old Sasuke would still be in the academy for 2.
So I will say this, the fact that Itachi was working alone, that is very impressive for him to do it completely on his own. But the reason why I don't really think like the time with the whole tuning exam thing in the Forest of Death is really that great either is because for one, he's probably going against a bunch of bums that are clearly nowhere on his level, right? He's a fucking Jonin, right? So it's like, it's not even fair. It's like, literally it's like fighting bots, right? In a video game. They just, you know what I mean? So it's not really a flex because Gaara, he eventually beats Itachi's time, you know what I mean, and completely beat it by like a ridiculous amount as well. And Gaara is nowhere near as strong as fucking Itachi at that point. You know what I mean? He just beat it so effortlessly because Gaara was way beyond the people that were contesting at that point. You know, so when it comes to the whole time thing, that's not really that great. But again, it still does go to tell of like how genius and how much of a prodigy Itachi was. So he was that guy. But it's not like, oh my god, that's crazy or anything like that. Because Gaara did surpass it. And by a lot, remind you. And Gaara technically did it by himself as well. Like, Tamari Conqueror didn't do shit. He literally just bodied everybody and did it himself. So, but yeah.
2 years and would not become a Chunin on his first try. Albeit there were weird circumstances that interrupted the Chunin exams, but Shikamaru still got promoted, so it was possible. Although Sasuke would eventually surpass Itachi, Kid Itachi was clearly more skilled and advanced than Kid Sasuke. And that's saying a lot since Sasuke was a prodigy and would go on to become one of the 2 strongest shinobi along with Naruto. But back to Itachi. Kid Itachi would seriously spar with Shisui for hours. As I said, Shisui was considered to be the strongest Uchiha of his time, and a Kid Itachi could spar with him for hours. In one instance, not only did he last 3 hours, he even got a good amount of wins. Out of 15 rounds, Itachi managed to win 6 compared to Shisui who won 9. They weren't allowed to use the Sharingan because that would waste chakra and they wanted to fight for as long as possible. But that's crazy that Kid Itachi was able to do that well and sometimes win against the famous Shisui of the body flicker. At 11, Itachi entered the ANBU. Danzo was pushing to make an 11-year-old Itachi ANBU commander, but usually an ANBU captain had to be at least 13 years old, as a result of a compromise between Danzo
and remind you guys, this is all very impressive because Itachi and Shisui were completely over Danzo. Like, they shitted on that man. That man could not fuck with them at all. And we know Danzo, like, in some senses, has similar scaling to Hiruzen, which then correlates and connects to all the Sannin, whatever you name it. So, like, that's a big freaking deal, bro. Like, he's no joke, man. And we see, like, Sasuke, who is, mind you, like, more experienced, older, getting an MS, you name it, he's over here struggling with people like Danzo, you know? So,
third Hokage, Itachi was promoted to ANBU captain at 12, but his publicly disclosed promotion age was 13. Itachi was around 13 years old when he, with Obito's help, wiped out his entire clan except for Sasuke. He had his Mangekyo Sharingan at this point, which he awakened after his best friend Shisui's death about a year earlier. In fact, according to the novel, Itachi might have still been 12 since Obito tells Itachi it's been 4 years since their first meeting when he killed his teammate Tenma. It was after this that Itachi awakened his Sharingan, and he was 8 years old at
There's power in the word no. At University of Phoenix, there's no application fee, entrance exam.
yeah, I say no to this stupid ass ad too. But you know, here I am.
4 plus 8 is 12 years old if we take his words super literally. But he would have been close to 13 nonetheless, while his publicly disclosed age would have been around 14. As I mentioned, while the roughly 13-year-old Itachi killed his clan, he had access to his unique Mangekyo Sharingan powers. He could use Tsukuyomi and Amaterasu. Tsukuyomi is a genjutsu that allowed Itachi to create an illusion for someone where Itachi completely...
So, fun fact, just a slight correction. At that point in time, at least from the ANBU and during the massacre, it was only confirmed that he could do Tsukuyomi. There's actually nothing to prove that he could do Amaterasu. I'm not saying he couldn't, but there's nothing actually to show that he could, because if you take the anime into consideration, he doesn't actually use Amaterasu until fighting the Mizukage in the V2 form, because that's how he defeated him effortlessly, was with Amaterasu, and then he puts his hand to his eye, and he's like, oh, so that's what this what this eye can do, you know? So there is a possibility, or very probable, that Itachi couldn't do Amaterasu at that point in time, but let's say if he was pushed enough or cornered enough, it might still just happen regardless, and he would just do the same shit, right? You know? So either way, like, he technically has it, but not really at that point in time. And it's questionable whether or not if he could be able to do it, because I feel like he would have to be in a really, really serious situation to be pushed to do that, you know?
completely controlled time, space, and matter. It's said in the novel that the time that passed within this genjutsu was 1/100th of 1/1000th of 1/1,000,000th of that of the real world. In other words, a moment in the real world could be experienced as a lifetime for a person under the genjutsu. Even though it can be used for torture, Itachi could use it to create a kind of paradise too, so that people pass away happily and tranquilly. For instance, he used it on Izumi, a girl that loved him, and made her experience an entire lifetime with Itachi, where they married, had children, grew old together, and so on. In Izumi's case, she was smiling when she took her last peaceful breath. Killing her in this way also shows how much Itachi cared about her. This was an important mission where he needed all the strength and speed he could muster. The efficient thing to do would have been to kill Izumi quickly with a blade, but instead Itachi chose to use Tsukuyomi, which takes a huge toll on him. When he finished, his body was shaking because of the amount of chakra he used up, but he wanted to make sure that Izumi lived out her fantasies. For a guy who, on missions, is usually as cold and calculating as a ninja can get, this act shows that Itachi did have strong feelings for Izumi and might well have married her if the circumstances allowed it. Against an Uchiha that he didn't like at all, called Yashiro, Itachi used Tsukuyomi to create a world where infinite Itachis continued to stab the man with ninja swords. It was not even a few seconds in the real world, but Yashiro experienced several days of continuous stabbings. When Itachi stopped the genjutsu, Yashiro's mind was destroyed, and then Itachi proceeded to chop off his head. As you can see, Itachi, despite seemingly hating violence, could be quite cruel when angered. We also read about Itachi getting...
I didn't know that. I'm assuming he's getting all this from the novels, because the anime was completely different, and the manga doesn't show anything, really. It's very, very vague and cut dry. But yeah, I would assume he's getting all this from the novels. But, because I knew about the girlfriend thing and what he did for her, but I didn't know about that. That's pretty crazy.
Revenge on Sugaru, aka Yoji Aburame, who is the one to blame for Shisui's death. Sugaru had used insects to poison Shisui, so that he would have died no matter what. Itachi deals with him and his insects using a materasu.
Okay, yeah, this is definitely the novels, because that only happened in the novel, so.
The technique produces black flames that will not go out until whatever Itachi is looking at has completely burned. He doesn't even let one insect nesting in Sugaru's body escape. Amaterasu has been referred to as the highest level of fire release. Even though it becomes pretty useless in later Naruto, at this point Amaterasu was one of the best techniques in the Naruto world, along with Tsukuyomi. And since Itachi has awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan in both eyes at this point, he at least has the potential to access the power of Susanoo too, with its incredible defensive and offensive capabilities, even though he doesn't actually use it in the novels. It makes sense though that Itachi doesn't use it in the novels because he doesn't have a need for it. He has no problem strength-wise in taking out countless members of his clan. When it came to that, it was more so...
So that's actually very interesting what he said, because here's my issue. I don't know what came out first. I don't know if the anime came out first or the novel came out first. And the reason why that's important is because obviously whichever one came out first technically would take priority more in canonicity, because the anime shows, it doesn't show as much, and it shows that Obito killed the woman he loved, but in the novel we actually know what happened. So I'm not too sure. I would have to do my homework and see what came out first, because whatever came out first is obviously going to be what actually occurred. But let's say if the novel came out first, then that means Itachi would have a Materasu. He would absolutely have it, because he's literally doing it in the fucking Uchiha massacre, while in the anime, he doesn't do it until he's in the Akatsuki robe and hunting down the Mizukage, So that's actually very interesting.
An emotional challenge than a physical one, and that's where we'll stop in the story for the purposes of this video, up to about where Itachi is 13 years old. So we'll consider that kid Itachi, and if you want to see a video about adult Itachi's true strength, let me know in the comments below, and by turning that like button blue. In the same power and potential, as we know, he does develop an illness, but ignoring that, his childhood could easily lead one to believe that his dream of becoming the strongest ninja in the world was possible.
Do you want to see how much money you're eligible for? If you were in a car crash within the last 2 years, that was not your
bitch. I ain't done my other people. I haven't.
He broke record after record. He not only completed the Chunin exams by himself, but also finished the Forest of Death portion, which is based on a 3-man cell, in record time. He was said multiple times in the novels to to be the most talented ninja to ever bless the halls of the academy. And yes, some talented dudes didn't go to the academy, like the first and second Hokage for instance, because it wasn't formed yet, but still Minato Kakashi and the Sannin went, and people still called Itachi the most talented. He trained and even won sparring matches against Shisui, referred to as the strongest Uchiha of his age, when he was still a young kid. He dreamt of being the first Uchiha Hokage, and he easily reached Hokage level. Not only would he be clearly shown to surpass Kakashi and Orochimaru in the future,
unless I missed it, but I don't think he mentioned also that the fact that when Itachi was 7 years old, he already had the wisdom and intelligence of an Hokage as well. I don't think he said that, unless I missed it, but there's that as well. That's how freaking cracked Itachi was as a kid.
Of who were considered strong enough to be Hokage, he even surpassed his father Fugaku in the novels. And as I mentioned, many Uchiha felt that Fugaku could have been and should have been the fourth Hokage. Itachi even attains the legendary Mangekyo Sharingan at around 12 years old, giving him access to OP jutsu like Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, and potentially Susanoo. Skill-wise, the sky was the limit for Kid Itachi. It's unfortunate that he got ill, but without Tailed Beast powers, Sage of Six Path powers, or reincarnation of someone famous powers, Itachi did just about as well as you can expect someone to do. In fact, one might even argue that he surpassed all expectations for how strong he could have reasonably hoped to be. And that is it for this video. Thank you to everyone who suggested an Itachi dedicated video, and if you did enjoy this one, make sure to...
Alright, so final thoughts. Definitely a pass. It was a very, very good video. The guy clearly did his research and his homework, whatever, which is really, really hilarious because there's people that main Naruto and only scale Naruto and they can't do their homework to save their life, you know? So, and the fact that this guy does a variety of anime and does all kinds of stuff and not just one, that's pretty freaking impressive. But what I'll say ultimately at the end of the day, it was good. It was really good. He said basically almost about absolutely everything you could possibly say when it comes to Kid Itachi and ANBU Itachi. And I'm going to be honest, not really a lot of people scale ANBU Itachi, or there's not really a lot of videos that really focus Kid Itachi either, especially even for like versus battles or matchups, you know? I think like Virtue and Sage of Thick Halves, they eventually covered like within that realm of scaling and stuff. I could be wrong in that, but either way, the main point is it's not really common. People always just immediately went to like Akatsuki Itachi or Sick or Edo and things like that, whatever, right? You know? Yeah, no, again, Itachi is really fucking powerful, dude. He was cracked. And I like what he said towards the end because Itachi would have been extremely, extremely powerful if he never got sick and actually continued to live on. Like, that dude would have been a monster as a ninja and had so much potential and capability just to reach, you know, whatever crazy levels of power. Like, the sky was the limit for the dude. Like, him and Minato, bro... They were just extremely exceptional and gifted shinobi, like just above and beyond. And Naruto and Sasuke were never ever built like that. Instead, they needed fucking constant plot conveniences in order to be relevant or to even have a chance remotely. Like being the reincarnation of Indra and Ashura, getting a 6-pass amp, or Naruto having the 9 tails, or Sasuke eventually getting the EMS because of Itachi, and yada yada yada. You know what I mean? Like, but when it really came to like of them really earning their shit, they didn't necessarily really earn it. In a way, they were kind of already given greatness, right? While Minato and Itachi, they were just built like that, and they did it literally on their own, you know? So, like, he is one of the very few characters that could have been an absolute monster if he didn't die the way he did, and it made sense. Like, it was a constant trend and consistency, but the way Kishimoto did Naruto was if someone was becoming too powerful or was so strong, he always found a way to either nerf them significantly or just to remove them from the story, because otherwise they'd be a problem, you know? And it would solve all the answers. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Hero Academia, but it's kind of like All Might. Like, imagine if he never got, like, seriously injured or was always at his prime the entire show. Bro, like, there'd be no story, you know what I mean? There'd be no Deku, there'd be no struggle. He'd just literally defeat everybody, you know? He was that guy. So... but yeah, that's basically about everything I can really say regarding for Itachi in the video that he did. Again, really good video. Definitely a pass. Shout out to him once again. And if you guys enjoy the reaction, like, comment, and subscribe. Be plenty more along the way, guys. Babbing out. Peace.